Good afternoon, everyone. This is Tasnia Ahmed, and I'm going to discuss about and leave and on a live show about the menstrual talk in the Philippines and beyond the things about how menstrual dignity is going to be a good and innovative things and making people, especially the women empowerment and connecting the issues about the things how we are actually approaching these things and making so powerful with the show of menstrual dignity. So this is Tasnia Ahmed, and I'm the country coordinator of Bangladesh in Global South Coalition of Dignified Menstruation. And beside this, I'm also working as a senior program officer in SERAC Bangladesh. So today in this dialogue or series dialogue, we are going to talk about the menstrual dignity among the globe with the and of course the South Asian region and the Philippines and how people are actually collaborating with this issue or how people are, especially women, are tackling and ensuring their dignity in the menstruation and of course connecting with the menstrual health and hygiene. So we are going to talk about this with one of our special speaker from Philippines, and she is the Camille Escudero, and she is a champion in Pacific Menstrual Health Initiative, and which is the Asia Pacific MSME Trade Communication. And she is doing her amazing job as an advocate for gender, sexual diversity, mental health, and removing any kind of depression and open conversation. She is also taking her diplomas from Asia Pacific College's School of Computing and Information Technology in the Philippines, and she's also taking already taken her program in sustainability and responsible businesses in the Swedish Institute Management program. And most importantly, she is the founder of Lily of the Valley, a brand of initiate apparel for a different life stages like puberty, pregnancy, motherhood transition, and most importantly, the dignified menstruation about how women are doing or collaborating with this thing. So this is her good profile that she is doing in a very differentiative way and making very interesting in the women empowerment. So welcome, Kamaili.
Thanks so much, Tasnia. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here and to be part of the conversation of the Global South Coalition for Dignified Menstruation.
Yeah, thank you so much. As Kamaili is she's saying just she is really very interesting to work on Global South Coalition for Dignified Menstruation or want to know about this, and many more people, especially in the pages or in our messages or even through our website, many more wants to people want to know about how we are working in Global South Coalition, especially in dignified menstruation. Of course, there is a massive things we are doing, especially to disseminate the institutional, structural, or interpersonal, especially in the social oppressive system, in which is actually affecting the menstruation individuals and especially who menstruate and their ability to basic amenable information or human rights. Because whenever we are talking about menstruation, that is actually connected with our human rights, that is connected our health rights, women rights. So we have to make some collaboration, especially in the global south part, so that we can connect more women, more people, or also we can mobilize the community so that we can ensure this dignity for the menstruation. So this is we are working in the global south coalition to actually ensure the dignity for the women and for all of the human being connecting or aligned with the human rights, so that we can actually ensure and make more collaboration with the people, and we can also connect so many people in to ensure they lead a happy and healthy lives, and of course the obtain dignity. And we can also make some massive things, that is we strive to unite the organizations and even also make our collaboration with the individuals who are actually working with that dignity or dignified menstruation. And which is very aligned with our objectives, so that we can also reclaiming the dignity with collaborative approach, at the same time organizations and individuals. So yes, this is what we are going to do, and what our future missions that we are targeting, and what are we are not doing, especially is the COVID situation. Sometimes menstruation, it's something that we cannot stop this, but even menstruation is a thing that we have to face in every month as a cycle, just what we do in our daily life, our daily activities. So even we cannot stop this menstruation in the COVID-19 situation. So we have to tackle this, rather than what we can ensure that we can face these different kinds of obstacles connecting to the menstrual with our dignities. So that is also Kamali doing in her area in the Philippine, and other things as well. So let's talk with our this interactive session about Kamali, that my I want to know, even the audience want to know, that when did you start to a menstrual health champion, especially what actually inspire you to work on these things, so that you can be a good champion or a good figure for the people, especially ensuring or empowering women in the dignified menstruation. Kamali.
Thanks so much, Tasnia. Well,
Yeah.
everything you've said was just motivating. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing it to our community and our audience. So when did I start to become a mental health champion? It didn't happen instantly. So I didn't wake up one day and say, okay, I want to be a menstrual health champion. So if you will allow me to share a short story. Um, so my background is computer science, and I was trained to be critical. When you're given a problem, you analyze the symptoms, you dive into the root causes, and then you design a solution. So this was the process I took when I developed my first period panty in 2014. That was the first thing that I did towards getting into the menstrual health space, was creating a period panty. My mother was running a lingerie company at that time, and I would gift my friends with underwear, and they all found them pretty and comfortable. And you know, um, one time, a friend of mine, she asked me if I could make her period underwear, and I was like, "What is that?" And honestly, I had no idea what a period underwear was at that time. And she explained to me that it's something you wear during your period, and something that she wanted to wear during her heavy flow days, because she said that she would normally have leaks and stain her clothes, and always her bed would have a stain whenever she woke up in the morning. So with that one question, I set out to find out whether this was a common problem, amongst other menstruators. So we surveyed about close to 500 menstruators, and we confirmed that people with periods did experience leak problems, plus many more other issues. So we designed our first period panty, and at that time, I simply wanted to alleviate the pains that menstruators experienced during their period, such as the unwanted leaks, the pads moving about, the wings coming off and then rubbing against your skin and irritating you. And all of those symptoms compounded the anxiety and the worry that many menstruators feel, prior to the days leading up to their period, and during the menstrual phase. I mean the menstruation phase. And so that was my first exposure to the menstrual health space. And simultaneously, I was immersed in various women's activities in the women's space. I was learning about micro entrepreneurship, the women in the communities who were building these enterprises. I was learning about gender lens investing. And fast forward to 2 years. Um, as you said earlier, I was at the Swedish Institute, and I was learning about sustainability and responsible business. And that exposure, that experience raised my consciousness to looking at beyond me, beyond the business, but looking at the other stakeholders. How am I impacting the community around me? How am I impacting the earth, the environment? And so those little steps led me to where I am today. Um, and then in 2018, I was invited to a workshop for menstrual health. It was specifically for menstrual health. And in that forum, I met many stakeholders in the menstrual health space. There were consultants, there were community builders, there were WASH advocates, water and sanitation advocates, and there were many community homegrown entrepreneurs who were making period products. And meeting them, being in that space, the experience clarified what I wanted to do. I'm still involved with the key stakeholders of that group, and the dream to change the world, to make it more equitable for women and menstruators, is what inspires me to forge on and continue what I'm doing. And talking to the community, talking to you about menstrual health. That was a
Yeah.
long story.
So, yeah, of course, as you are working in this sector, so it's sure that there will be so much stories, there will be so much struggles, and there will be, of course, there are so many say failures, success, or stories, of course, behind this. But my question is, as you are saying that you started to work on this menstrual hygienes, menstrual dignity in age of 18 when you joined a workshop. So, of course, you felt the importance of the menstruation or menstrual connectivity things or dignified menstruation. So that's maybe that time you were felt important as an adolescent and you joined in this workshop. But still, do you think that there is so many, community mobilization, advocacy, or community mobilization activities that should be moved forward in the Philippines so that more than community young people or community women involved in this process? So what do you think about it to move forward in the
Mhm.
Philippines?
Yeah. Thank you for that question, and that's an excellent question. Let me just correct that. It's 2018 that I
Okay,
was in
2018,
that
yeah.
discussion, not when I was 18.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So of course,
So,
but also
mhm,
my actually question was, as an adolescent, as you are working in this field,
yeah.
maybe you are not adolescent on that time, but as an example, as an adolescent, what do you think to make more community mobilization to move forward in the Philippines? Yeah.
Um, well, I think not just in the Philippines, but all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Half the people have uteruses and ovaries. And it's important that every person understands how
Mm-hmm.
these organs work and affect our body. Um, so uh, let's start with us,
Mm-hmm.
understanding the menstrual cycle, our menstrual cycle makes us more in tune with our body. So I would say that the first thing to move forward and progressively forward is to have that understanding within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Having this understanding of our menstrual cycle will make us feel more connected,
Yeah.
noticing what happens in our body physically, mentally, psychologically, emotionally, and even socially
Yeah.
throughout throughout our menstrual cycle raises our consciousness. And noticing these changes will allow us to also notice how these changes impact our work, impact our relationships with our family, our coworkers, or just the people around us, and also our relationship with ourselves. um, I feel that it's important for every menstruator to be aware of their cycle, to have a more mindful relationship, with our body through our menstrual cycle. Because I believe that when we become mindful about what happens to our bodies, we become more mindful about how we take care of ourselves. And we take care of ourselves on the physical aspect, the mental aspect, the emotional, psychological, and social aspect. Um, and looking at ourselves as a whole, uh, menstrual health was recently redefined as the uh, state of physical, mental, and social well-being related to our menstrual cycle. And so it's important not just to look at, the 5 to 7 days when we bleed, but also the entire menstrual cycle, because this happens to us every month. Every month we go through this, as you said, right?
Yeah.
So to move forward, raising awareness within ourselves, and then maybe later on we'll talk about education, on the from in school will be very important too.
Yeah, so definitely, I think there is two important message. First of all, to make awareness from myself at first. Then I will educate the other people or the community stakeholder. This is the thing. And secondly, about the education, as we are sometimes feels very taboo, especially there are so many social taboos, especially in the South Asian region. So we have to educate our childrens, but at first we have to educate ourselves at first. So these things you have already mentioned, but let's come to the point of about the advocacy, especially in the policymakers or any kind of
Yeah.
things. So from your experience, what is the status of the menstrual advocacy or sensitize the policymakers in the Philippines?
Well, I think the advocacy in general is widespread. There are different
Mm-hmm.
groups tackling different aspects of menstrual health. There are groups who fight for access to products. Some advocate for better reproductive health and sexuality education. Others champion sexual health, and there are more. I feel that it's spread out. I feel there is space for a more concerted and consolidated effort. Now, in terms of policies, I will tell you that there is one policy which is called the Magna Carta for Women in the Philippines, which provides um, I'm forgetting at the moment, but it gives paid leaves to a person who undergoes reproductive health procedure. Like when you give birth, you know. So you get paid leave for that. But other than that, there is none. There are, however, some that I know of. Say bills. So these were written by either a congressman or a senator, people in government, but are not laws. So there is one bill which is called the Menstrual Leave Bill, um, which affords me, for example, a menstruator, 1 day of leave, and the whoever your employees is will pay you half a day's worth of your work. Eh, there are other ways to, I think there are other better leave policies for that. And I know that there is a uh, congressman right now who is working on um, reducing taxes on sanitary products.
Yeah.
So moving sanitary products into the basic needs category. I know that there are several people in government who are working on that. So we don't know whether they will become laws, but we are looking forward to seeing positive strides toward that.
That's very perfect. That everyone, I mean, the different country has different context, so everyone is doing our advocacy or sensitizing the policymakers, SRHR community leaders. Then, of course, one of the main player is the journalist or media. So we all have to work together, and there is so many context and so many concept according to our country perspective. As an example, in Bangladesh, we are working in several kinds of things, especially SERAC or GDS is also working to reduce the tax in the sanitary pad, which is very high right now. So we are doing this advocacy or sanitize the policymakers about these issues so that the tax can be deducted or at least can be combated from the sanitary products, as it's a very important or usual product rather than a luxury product. So we are
Yeah.
actually working or doing something, I mean, beyond the situation that we are doing. But still, we are facing several kinds of challenges. There's several kinds of prevail issue. So that
Mm.
will more challenging, a risky situation, but still we are doing. So according to that perspective, or of course, we aligned with your experience. Do you face, or I mean, the Philippine people are facing any kind of menstrual issues that
Mm.
prevail or making any challenges in the
Yeah.
activities of the Philippines, especially, of course, considering the menstrual dignity? Or does it
Yeah.
actually refers any kind of part of the dignified menstruation?
Yeah. That's an excellent question, Taznia. So number one, there's that cultural taboo. You know, there
Yeah,
are many beliefs. You know, in the province, during menarche, some women would say, "Okay, your first blood, put it on your face so that you don't have acne," you know, or jump 3 steps on the stairs, something like that. And those beliefs have no scientific basis, but it tells you that there's really that lack of understanding and education about what the menstrual cycle is, so that's one, many taboos around menstruation and lack of understanding on menstrual health. Second also is menstrual health products, access to menstrual health products. Um, because menstruation is so taboo, it's not um, like during at the onset of the pandemic, and people were giving relief goods. Sanitary products isn't part of the relief package because nobody thinks that menstruation is normal. Menstruation happens every day to a menstruator, but because it's not at top of mind, it's forgotten. And so many groups are now advocating for ensuring that sanitary products are part of a relief package. Any basic need package must include sanitary products. um,
yeah,
and we mentioned earlier, education. There is a huge absence of
mhm,
comprehensive sexuality education, which really deals with um, you know discussing the menstrual cycle and what really happens, not just the physiological um, things that are happening during the menstrual cycle, but also what will menstruators experience, mentally. Many menstruators feel anxious and worried, and that's something that's mental and psychological and emotional. And how does it affect our social health? When we're menstruating, we don't really want to engage and interact with people. And that's because we don't, some of us may not feel so good when we have our menstruation, right? And many of us feel pain. Um, and a good chunk of those who feel pain um, will experience debilitating pain that you can't do anything. You just want to, stay in bed and sleep. Um, a few months ago, we conducted a survey amongst working women, so women in the professional field, and we found out that 80% of them experienced pain. And of those 80%, I think it was about 30% where they felt that their pain was bothersome and that they had to stop working. They couldn't do their chores. And this affects, everyone globally. And I feel that if, say, managers, if people who are making policy understood that there's a significant number of menstruators who feel pain and need support when you're feeling pain, and pain in various degrees, and there's also, that's the physical pain, but there's also the emotional and psychological stressors that are not even being discussed. Uh, so those are things that we want to bring to light, that there's more to the menstrual cycle than the bleeding and the pain.
Yeah,
Lots of
so
things.
I mean, of course, that you actually mentioned so many things connected to the education, mental health, then physical health, social health. All are those things connected with one of the things. And in Dr. Dev, what I believe that there is so many school dropouts, especially lacking of the menstrual education, right? Because one of the study that we conducted with the Asia Pacific Alliance and SERAC, that we found out that at almost 80 to 83% adolescent girls are just drop out or didn't want to go to school, and they have no idea about menstrual health, or I mean about the menstrual hygiene, about how to maintain this hygiene, or even they are really very unknown about the word is menstrual dignity. Rather than they are just thinking that this is a very shy topic, we shouldn't talk about this in general. Even these are really very uncommon. Even the educated people are not really comfortable to talk about this
Yeah,
menstruation. Even
yeah.
sometimes that is out of like limit bounding things for those people. So as you are saying that this is a very social taboo, so I mean, do you have any kind of experience, especially not in a generic sense, of course it's your experience, do you have any kinds of experience that you face that menstruation is taboo for you? Yeah.
Yes, sure, sure. Uh, I started menstruating in third grade. I was 9 years old. And my menarche experience was uneventful. The entire experience was um, faced tactically, like it was a problem and it needed solving. Uh,
Yeah.
so I told my mother that, oh, there's blood. And, she got a napkin and then she showed me how to use it. That was it. Um, I feel, looking back at that experience, I feel that that was a deprivation of what could have been an educating experience, of what could have been a more positive period experience for me. Because from that time, I thought that, okay, my period is a problem that I need to solve. And I think that's how uh, many menstruators feel. And I think that's why it's also not being talked about, because you feel it's a problem, it's your problem that you need to solve. So I hushed about it. I never initiated or engaged in conversation about menstruation with my mother or with my girlfriends. Um, we are raised to never discuss anything that involves our genitals or what's happening in our genital area, right? And for
Yeah.
those who bleed regularly, we get our periods every month, we discharge mucus every day, but we would never be caught dead talking about our discharges, our mucus, our blood, what we're feeling, right? um, and then high school biology explained how the reproductive system operates, but I really don't remember relating it to what was happening to me on a regular basis. Like there was no conscious exploration of the emotional and mental impact of the menstrual cycle, except for the bleeding. Um, and that I felt was, because of that taboo that you weren't supposed to talk about um, the experiences that were not physical, the experiences that you could not see. But I think that's what's important to talk about. What are you feeling when after your period you gain a bit of energy, and you probably feel more social, you probably feel more clarity in your mind, and then when you're ovulating, the rise of the estrogen, makes you feel more beautiful. Maybe your hair is shinier, your skin is clearer, and maybe you feel more confident because you feel more beautiful. Um, that's why when pregnant women, when women are pregnant, they say, "Oh, you're blooming, you're blossoming." It's because of that rise
Yeah.
of the estrogen. And we also experience that when we're ovulating because estrogen is at the high. And and I feel right now, I think I'm nearing ovulation because I'm talking a lot.
Mhm.
And
No, but
yeah, it's those little, it's not actually little, it's those significant things that are not being discussed. And I think this is something that everyone should understand. And of course, it's different for every menstruator, right? Um, and I'm also uh, I used to be called, oh, you're irritable, maybe because it's your period, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and if we have our period every month, then we will be irritable every month, and it's just part
Mhm.
of that cycle, you know. Yeah, it's something that we need to understand about ourselves, but also other people who are not menstruating need to understand about people with periods.
Yeah. I want to quote this point. Actually, like that you said in the last line, who are not menstruate, they should also know about this, right? Because
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is just not only for the the girls topic, because
Hmm.
menstruation is something that is connected with our reproductive or sexual rights, though those things are really very taboo issue. But
Yeah.
sometimes people are just saying in a very generic sense, that is that menstruation is something that only for girls know, or girls issue. Even the wet dreams is only for boys issue. So there is so many differences and dividation about getting or providing the information connecting to the menstruation or SRH, that is reproductive health or something. So did you face any kind of discrimination about aligned with this menstruation, which is connected with your work or even in your academic or personal life? So yeah,
Mm.
did you face something, anything?
Yes, absolutely. I think all of us have.
Yes,
If
that's
you've ever, I gave an example earlier, and if you've ever heard, similar comments like, "Oh, you're so
mhm.
sensitive. Is your period coming up? Oh, she can't make
Yeah.
up her mind." That's
Mhm.
typical of a woman. Or somebody tells you, "You're so grumpy. You must be on your red day." Right?
Mhm.
Those comments are discriminating, right? And
Yeah.
instead of discriminating, I think anyone who says that should try to understand what is happening. I may be
Mhm.
grumpy because I might be on in my period, but why is it that I'm grumpy? I'm grumpy because it's uncomfortable. I'm grumpy because I'm feeling sensitive, you know.
Yeah.
I'm grumpy because I would rather sleep than be at work, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and it's that lack of understanding about what's going on in a menstruator's body. Um, so anyone who's heard that, then you've been discriminated against because of your menstrual cycle. And if I am to be honest, I've been I I have said those things too when I was younger. Before I was enlightened and before I learned more about the menstrual cycle, I would say those things too. And it's bad enough that I'm someone who menstruates and says that about someone else, right? And that's
Yeah.
that's that's a learning experience for me. um, that's also something that we can learn for ourselves, and I feel that's why um, we must understand it ourselves. We must understand it within ourselves first, so that we can empathize and understand what others are going through, and also acknowledge that our experiences may be different. I may not feel as much pain, but someone else might be crippled by the pain, you know and so in the work that we do at Lily of the Valley, we are raising awareness about our menstrual cycle, because as I mentioned earlier, we want to see the person as a whole.
Yes.
That menstruation is part of your wholeness, but understanding that requires understanding your wholeness. um,
Mm-hmm.
and that with the rise of and fall of the hormones in our bodies, in a menstruator's body, the combination of the hormones generates the different physical symptoms, the emotional shifts, the memory changes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just with age that we become forgetful, but it also during the menstrual cycle there might have some cognition level changes. But we only notice this when we start becoming more mindful and more aware of what really is happening. Because if we don't notice it, then we won't really understand that there are these changes happening within us. And these changes, as long as we are menstruating, as long as we have a menstrual cycle, these changes will happen every month and can be expected every month. And so if I am irritable during my period, you can be sure that 4 weeks from now I will be irritable again, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I now have a new perspective about um, when you're cranky, you know. You're cranky because you have your period. We have personality changes because of our menstrual cycle, and it's true. Um, in the past, I thought that it was a bad thing to experience. I thought it was bad to be, to say to myself that I'm cranky because I have my period. But the thing is, that is the reality. And
Yeah.
if we can shift the negativity to just acknowledging that it is real, then, you know, we can have more acceptance within ourselves. And always I say, we want the change to start within us. And also through Lily of the Valley, we invite our communities to increase body literacy by education. Again, we want to raise the awareness about what's happening in our bodies. We want to educate our audience through social media, because when we understand our body parts, our vagina for example, and how they work, we develop a better appreciation for our body, for our vagina. And when we have this better appreciation, we can have a more positive relationship with
Yeah.
the vagina, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we even saying the word vagina and saying that this is part of my body, you don't hear that often, because people would use other words like your lady parts, your private parts. But I think it's important that you know we learn to use the proper names, because that is what it is. And when we start using the correct and the right terms, we strip it of any malice. And
Yeah.
that's one way to break the stigma, is to just start using the word vagina, periods, and making them part of normal conversation, and just normalizing them.
Yeah, I think as you mentioned that better to get the reality, because this vagina, this menstruation cycle, I mean reproductive organs, these are so real words. We can discuss all of these things rather than hide it, or
Mm,
making it normalized, so that we can
yeah.
actually grab the situation. What is it? Because end of the day we have to deal all of these things, and everyone have to deal all of these things, other things we cannot ensure the menstrual dignity, right? So we have to accept it as just a solution. What it is, we have to accept it. That's the thing. Anyway, let's talk about or discuss about more about your business, because till now we knew many more things, like what you did, your perception about dignified menstruation, Philippines condition or status. But let's now talk about your business, that you have already talked that the your business is focusing on the puberty, menstrual health, and many more issues. So tell me about more extent that what is your business working towards the menstrual dignity.
Yes, thanks so much for the opportunity, for the chance to talk about that, Tasnia. Um, so we make period panties.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. Because we want to give people the power of choice. That you have an option to use something that's reusable, something that's friendly to the environment, and something that will last you for years. Especially for the people who spend money and want to change the way that they're spending, and also for people who want to make a more positive impact to the community and to the environment. So we want to offer an alternative, and we are not saying choose this product over other products. I believe that we have different ways of managing our menstruation, and we can use different products. For example, I use pads, menstrual cups, and I use period panties. But say during my luteal phase, when I know that my period is when I know that I'm expecting my period, I will probably wear my period panty so that in case it comes, I'm protected. But then during my second or third day, when my menstruation is very heavy, I will want to use a menstrual cup. And then maybe on my last day, I will want to use a reusable cloth pad. Um, what we want to encourage is to people to have options, and people to be able to manage their menstruation um, freely. So that's one. And then secondly, you mentioned earlier about girls missing school, and that happens here as well. Not just because of the taboo, but also because of the lack of products. And also that um, anxiety from if I use the wrong product, I might have a stain or a leak, and that happens. I'm sure that that has happened to all menstruators. And so, as part of our give back program, we give back to the community. We donate period panties, and we donate a period kit to high school students.
Yeah.
And when we give that donation, we include a workshop on menstrual health. Um, why this is a product that can be an option. And we also encourage the students to feel more confident and feel more positive about their menstrual cycle. Um, so getting into, the young menstruators and showing them that there are different ways to manage your period, and there are positive experiences you can have. uh, yeah, so that's
Mm.
good. And also, we support sexual and reproductive health programs through an
Mhm.
NGO in the Philippines. It's called Roots of Health. So that NGO provides uh, birth control
Mm.
options, not just pills, but like injectables. And they
Yeah, I mean
teach
family
young
planning contraceptives.
family.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And there's programs for reproductive health programs, HIV programs, and we support that NGO um, through our sales. Um, yeah.
So, of course, it's amazing works you are doing because there is so many things. Actually, those things are connecting your reproductive rights. Of course, accessing reproductive rights, and at the same time empower a person from his or her angle that how he can or she can ensure the reproductive health issues as well as many more things are connected. So, of course, you are really doing amazing through your business and of course as a person as well. So
Thank you.
as a strong woman you are doing amazing towards your business, your different kinds of persons and perspectives. So what is your uplifted idea or how you are actually uplift the menstrual dignity through your business as a person or behind with it? So how you are doing all of these things? And of course, as a strong woman in Philippines, yeah.
Thank you so much, Tasnia. I believe that there is strength in every person. Um,
Yeah.
and you have shown strength by asking these questions that, oh, make me think and make people think. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you. Uh, I've been saying this throughout, our conversation. Knowledge is power. Education is key to start shifting mindsets, shifting beliefs, and uh, this is what we want to continue to impart, as a business, as a champion for menstrual health, um, and having people understand that menstrual health is not just a woman's issue or a menstruator's issue. It's a human rights issue that you had shared earlier, because
Yeah.
50% of the world population menstruate. Why should it not be an important part of discussion to discuss what's going on during their menstrual cycle? Um, and you will probably ask me about this earlier. I mean, later. You will ask me about this later. But until women and menstruators get freedom to choose what happens to their bodies, there will be no dignity. Until we
Yeah.
can make decisions without the law saying that decision is wrong or a crime, there will be no dignity. Because right now, who are the people making policies about our health? They're mostly men. And until we have enlightened and conscious menstruators making those policies, we will not have the dignity that we deserve.
Yeah, of course. Whenever it comes to the point of an women empowerment, that is everything connected. Women must be ensured so that we can actually not only to face or ensure her right, rather than access her right with dignity, whatever the issues is, the reproductive health, menstrual health, on many more other things. So, according to that you are actually refined of your question, that is, what is your insight or what will be a very key message or a focused point? I mean, connecting to the menstrual advocacy into dignity, of course, because advocacy, we can only ensure this dignity when we
Mhm.
mobilize the community, I mean the SRHR community,
Yeah,
policymakers, and the women. So
yeah,
what will be your insight or a very concrete focused message regarding this?
yeah. I will repeat, education is key. And that's why,
Yeah,
we really want to raise awareness by
yes, that's
educating.
true. Mhm.
Everyone needs to be exposed to enlightened knowledge so that we can
Mhm.
learn and we can grow and we can make the positive changes that are needed to uphold the dignity of menstruators. And I will repeat, I just said it a moment ago, until we, women menstruators, get full autonomy over our bodies, there will be no
Yeah.
dignity.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. So of course, because whenever it comes to the point, education, because without education we are just less backbone, or even like out of backbone, that what we are doing, we have no knowledge or no information, just go with the flow, that could not be happen in any kind of point. So of course, education, that you say, it's a very important part from the very beginning of a children to the I mean, from till the death, that every point education is really very important. And at the same time, information is also very important, because when we don't have any idea about what we are going, or what information that we need in focus point, we are out of like, or like trackless. So of course, in these insights must be connected with one another. And lastly, about thing that you have idea about the dignified menstruation that is going to be in 8th July, that we are going to celebrate with our global South parts. I mean, all of the members, organizations, or individuals as a whole in a very broader way. But still, we know that you have a very special holiday on that day. But do you have any plan, or do you want to connect more NGOs in the Philippines so that we can connect, or making a very global action, concrete action, especially I mean, accessing the menstruation or dignified menstruation?
It's I think we should talk about menstrual health every day because it happens
Yeah.
to us every day, and there's
Mhm.
something changing within our bodies every day.
Yes.
Yeah, as you mentioned, so the International Day for Dignified
Dignified menstruation.
Menstruation is December 8th, right? And it is a considered a holy day for the Philippines because um, you know the Philippines is mostly Catholic, and they do observe this day. Um, but I think that conversation should continue. Um, you know, it might be more timely to do it before December 8th or after December 8th, but around that time,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that there will be, um, if there's an international engagement that, uh, um, there are groups who will want to be involved, of course, especially those who are really, um, champions of menstrual health.
Mhm.
And it's important to normalize the discourse. It's important to
Yeah.
continue to have the conversations about menstrual health.
Yeah.
Um, uh, so yeah, it doesn't stop. So it will
Of
happen.
course. Yes, of course. As you say, the menstruation is not for only one day or 1 month. Rather than it's a cycle. It's happening in every month, every year, or year after year. So we shouldn't just talk about in only one day. Rather than we should spread the news, or spread the support among the community in bringing this. I mean, the dignity to menstruation. So lastly, my question is to you about this, that how we can ensure, or how we can increase this support among us to, I mean, dignified menstruation.
Um, well, number one, uh, talking about it right now, I'm glad that we're having this conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
as for me, to share, this video, you reach as much people, and as I mentioned, normalize the conversation. Because
Mm-hmm.
if it's so easy to talk about, what are we going to have for dinner, it should also be easy to talk about, I'm having my period, can you help something, I mean, it should be as normal as that. And also, uh, I would also say,
Mm-hmm.
enjoin the men to participate in the discussion,
Mm-hmm.
because as much as we should move the needle forward, we also need the support of men, because right now they're mostly men, and so we need,
Yeah.
a supportive man who can give us, or who can help us open up spaces and open up platforms so that we can take that seat at the table. um, and as I said, they need to understand also what the menstrual cycle is. Because, I mean, if you have a daughter, if you have a wife, if you have a sister or a mother, you want to be able to understand what's happening to them if it's something that's happening every month, right? And so it's the menstrual health is not just a woman's issue; it's a human rights issue. It's an issue that should be talked about by everyone. Um, and in relation to that, also teach young boys about what it is. And that's why I feel, the education should start from, the youth, from when you are young, from uh, children as young as, 3 or 4, once they already, understand, their body parts and can start having conversation. And I'll give you an example, Tasnia.
Yeah.
When my nephew and my niece, they're already 6, but when they were 5 last year, um, they saw my menstrual cups. They were displayed on my shelf, and they were like, "What is
Mm-hmm.
that? What are those?" And I told them, this is a cup that I use when I have my period. And when they asked about, the period, they asked, "What is that?" And I had to tell them that there comes a point in a girl's life when uh, you experience bleeding, and you bleed every month, and it's because your body is preparing for a baby to be there. But when there is no baby, that nest that your body prepares comes out as blood. And so when you ask them, and this is the truth, you can ask them, what is a period, and they will tell you that story exactly. And
Yeah.
they may not understand, everything else that happens, but I feel that, having them learn it that way at the young age can help them understand more when they're older, when they become adolescents, and when they start learning about this in school, at least the physiological side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think, as you said, of course, I love the concept that we can engage more men because, as you say, the policy are covered with the man. This is a very good thing, and of course, the realistic thing. Secondly, about when we grab any kinds of things, we have to make a equality. So, of course, when there is a woman, of course, there will be a man. So we have to make this equality other than SDG 5 cannot be ensured. This is a thing. And about the children issue, that look, from a very beginning of the childhood period, every boys, I mean, especially children, are more curious about know anything that is really interesting or unlikely for us, some unknown thing. They are more interested to know about what is that. So if we try to cover the age specific information, especially menstruation or reproductive health, they will be understand. They will adapt these things, and they will ultimately um, ensure the dignity in every aspects of the health
Mhm.
issues, rather than it could be a man or women specific, but they will understand and of course show their respect or dignity on this issue. Other, if this will not be happen, the thing will something in a very normative approach, like there would be something like the rape such or something could be increased. Even they will not be respective to the women, or even if the girl is not knowing about the issue, he or she also make disrespect to the man as well. So this could be happen many more things if we are not actually giving the children proper education or giving the children age specific information, and it will make a many more careless things as well. So of course I love the idea that we can engage more boys, and of course uh, give the children proper information about the dignified menstruation or connected any kind of health issues. So I think we actually conducted 1 hour more about our this interactive discussions. So we are going to just finish it, but in the last of the point, I want to know about your. I mean, do you have any kind final words or final message around this dignified menstruation?
Yes, maybe a few, not just, or a lot,
Yeah.
not just a few. But okay, I'll try to keep it short. Um, I want to reinforce that let's start having small conversations with trusted
Mhm.
family and friends. Um, Share this video so that we can spread the word about dignified menstruation. Um, for parents out there, think about your relationship with your body, your vagina, and
Mhm.
ask yourself, do you have a positive relationship with it? And can you educate your child and prepare them for their first bleed? Because your relationship with your period and your vagina will be emulated by your child. We have these taboos because we were raised to um, to have stigma around it. But if we change that within ourselves now, we can change and create a more positive experiences for the future girls. And that's one thing I leave with you. Um, have a more positive relationship with your body so that you can share that with your children and the youth. And also, like I said, the conversations are important. Let's normalize it, and let's not be embarrassed by stains. It's a
Yeah.
part of the menstrual cycle.
Yeah, that's true. Of course, this last message that is make a positive relation with your body. That's a really very strong message because yeah, we have to make it. We have to realize our body, what our body wants and what our body needs, so that we can work. We can work on that way. So yeah, that's an amazing message. And of course, this is a really very interesting and interactive discussion with you, and we are almost done, I think. And of course, this messages or this discussion points will be helpful for most of the people, especially who are the audiences or who actually make many more things about our things. So thank you, Kamali, to bearing with us, and thanks to the our audiences who was with us and